another Random Gleanings. Today we're recording, it's October 10th, and we're going to stick with this Financial Planning Month October celebration, if you will, Chris. And today we're following through on something that we said that we would talk about, which is charitable giving. Yep, charitable giving. We're centering in. Let's throw this first slide up. There are various ways in which to give, right?
Yeah, and we're going to talk about folks over 70 and a half, and we're going to talk about folks next week under 70 and a half. But I mean, if you're over 70 and a half or your parents are over 70 and a half, you need to understand how this works. It's important.
Right. Yep. Happy birthday, Mom. She turned 70 on Sunday, so she's got a half year, but we're right there for her as well.
So we're going to cover mostly qualified charitable distributions, or QCDs. And just for context, we want everyone to understand when you're going to have to start taking money out of your IRA. Now, if you haven't started yet, it's 73, okay? Right. In a few years, it'll be age 75. But suffice to say, it's 73 at this point. So what is a qualified charitable distribution? Well, in order to do a QCD, you've got to have an IRA.
Right.
You've got to be at least 70 and a half, or at least you're going to turn 70 and a half in the year
calendar
that you do
year.
it.
Yep.
It's got to go directly to a charity, which, I mean, we always make sure that's how it works. And then that's kind of it. So walk us through this Venn diagram here.
So this Venn diagram is showing folks that are specifically at required minimum distribution age, of which you just showed the chart, right? 73 and above.
Yeah, but you can do it at 70 and a half.
You can do it at 70 and a half. Right. So if you are inclined to give away money, if you're already giving money to the church, if you're already giving money to the United Way or some other charity,
right,
and you're this 70 and a half age, you've got IRA money, you know, there is a way in which you can give directly out of your IRA so as to avoid taxation on those dollars. And in this situation at 70 and a half before, say, age 73, you are reducing your future RMD obligation.
Yeah, so let's look at the RMD obligation for the future. This middle column in green on the slide here shows us the RMD table for when we start taking our required minimum distributions. And what we're going to do is we're going to take the value and we're going to divide it by whatever that RMD factor is. So let's start giving an example. Our example is a 71-year-old couple, right? Married filing jointly. They've got $1.6 million in combined IRAs, okay? Their first required minimum distribution isn't until 2025, but what we know is that if it were the same amount it's worth right now, that would be $58,400 added in RMD income, taxable income.
That's right. That's right. Now, presumably, they've got some other income that will add to their gross income. And so what we've modeled out is $8,000 in dividends and interest, a $30,000 his, maybe dad's Social Security, which gets taxed at 85%. If mom didn't maybe work as much, she would at least get half of his. So that's what we've modeled out. And again, taxed at 85%. So a gross income of $104,650 less the standard deduction. And just in case you don't know, above 65, a married filing jointly each gets $1,500 above the normal standard deduction for you and I. So a taxable income that solves out to $73,950.
So, I mean, listen, they're in the 12% bracket, okay? Not the end of the world, but we're going to show you in a minute how fast this ratchets up. This is just the first year of considering RMDs in the future, okay? So let's look at it with a qualified charitable distribution. So if $15,000, let's say, goes to charity, again, church, United Way, Heart Association, your grandkids, you know, PTA is more than likely a 501c3 charity. Like, all those things count toward charitable distributions out of your IRA.
If they go directly from the IRA to, which again, we
correct.
Or another, you know, firm like us can help satisfy.
Yeah, I mean, we would do it directly from Fidelity and have it satisfy part of the RMD for that year. Okay, so we were at $58,400 before, so we were giving $15,000 to charity in this scenario. But keep in mind that counts towards your RMD, but it's not taxed.
Right.
So it's not part of your taxable income. So when you add it all up, instead of 104 gross income, now you're at 89,650. You take your standard deduction, and you're down to 58,950 in taxable income. So next slide, looking at it, side by side, here's what it looks like. Federal taxes owed the traditional way with no QCD, about $8,400. Federal taxes owed with the QCD, $6,600. The percentage of tax saved in that scenario is 22%.
Another way of looking at this, just flipping this around a little bit, is if you were inclined to give money away to a charity, it could cost you $15,000, straight up. If you do it through the QCD, it's effectively, after tax, going to cost you $16,800 if you do it with the taxable money. Right. So it is a savings that you should not avoid if you are charitably inclined above 70.5.
For sure.
So, yeah. And now, let's model this out for us.
Yeah. So, okay, let's say you got $1.6 million in your combined IRAs at 73, and then you get an 8% growth rate. Here's what that looks like. By the time you're 80, that income has gone from $58,000 to $99,000. Okay, by 85, that's $143,000. So this is also last week, if you didn't watch it, why you need to go back and look at Roth conversions and think about how to maximize this stuff, because these numbers get super onerous really quick.
For dollars that, again, presumably, or maybe you aren't in need of taking, but the government is going to force you to take those out of your traditional IRA.
Having a tax strategy makes sense. And yes, you need to talk to your CPA about this. But at the end of the day, this is at least a starting point for you on taxation as it relates to IRA distributions, and maybe how to do some things that Uncle Sam lets you do in a tax-friendly way.
So this has been a very quick summary of QCDs. If you've got questions, definitely holler at us. You can hit us on info@ProPlanWealth. If you've got .com, if you've got specific questions, we'd be happy to help. Let's go on to markets and economy, Chris.
Yeah, so earnings start this week. They've started.
Yes.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
Here's Pepsi. Pepsi came in strong like bull on their earnings.
They did. Not only did they come in strong for Q3, but they have guided upwards for the next 12 months. So
I have a theory on this.
Okay.
And the employment numbers were hot. They were those that speculated that's people, not more people working, but rather people getting two jobs. And I think some of that's possible. My speculation, we have a client who always used to talk about how people buy Little Debbie's in recession, and just, cheap, they're good.
It's a little luxury.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right.
Yeah.
I think Pepsi's going up because people can afford a Pepsi and a bag of Lay's potato chips.
So if you had been watching their stock for the last couple months, they had been getting beat up, and there was a lot of speculation as, is this a sign of the looming recession or the weakening consumer? Then after today's earnings, there was some speculation. No, this was all speculation about Ozempic taking away people's desire for salty snacks and sugary drinks.
Not happening,
but
especially in the midst of hard times.
To your point,
I'm going to tell you, and the next chart is the picture of all the brands of Pepsi. Now, Pepsi in the 90s spun off a company called Yum Brands, which is KFC, Pizza Hut, and Taco Bell. Watch Yum's earnings. I'll bet you, as long as they don't have something funky going on, and I haven't paid any attention to Yum, but I'll bet you Taco Bell is in KFC or pulling them along.
Doing okay.
Yeah. All right, moving on. Later this week, Friday the 13th, we've got bank earnings starting.
Yes, we do. Yeah, J.P. Morgan, BlackRock City, and Wells Fargo, three of the biggest banks in the world, are reporting, and we have, again, our guesses as to Q3 looking awfully strong just because. Go ahead.
If real estate hadn't fallen in, J.P. Morgan and Citi ought to be fine. I don't know about BlackRock,
sure,
or Wells too. They're all paying like 0.2 on their deposit rates, and If they don't have the money loaned out, they're making 5.4 off of short-term treasuries, and if they do have the money lended out.
So a reminder that maybe if you're banking with one of these big banks, you might be subsidizing their balance sheet right now because they are taking.
Might be.
Well, certainly are. So they are taking advantage of those short-term treasury funds or bills that are available to all of us, and they're making that income, whereas they're not necessarily paying it to their depositors currently. And you can see the difference between some of these big banks, and then the lowest on this next chart, the KRE is the regional bank index, and one stands out unlike the others, and that is JP Morgan, and they are generally considered the best managed and best bank in the world. So, again,
it's the only one that's up year to date.
Only one that's up year to date, and so that's why I think we've called attention with the Jamie Lee Curtis Halloween scream in coincidence with the Friday the 13th reporting of these banks.
Banks are not out of the woods. There's no question. If you look at the KRE in the bottom, which is the regional banks, which starts at about the 10th largest bank in the country and moves on, I mean, they're still trading. They're actually trading below the bottom of when Silicon Valley Bank went out of business in March. So, I mean, the market still is not convinced that they are out of the woods. I mean, it could be real estate concerns. It could be any number of things, but not out of the woods yet.
That's right.
All right. So we were going to talk about what we're watching a little bit.
Yeah, we got a little beef from some folks that said, where were the recommendations last week? And so you had shared with me a pretty cool. I can't say I've watched all of it yet. I've gotten it started. Becoming Warren Buffett was an old HBO special apparently, and is apparently available to stream online for free. And so if you need a link to that, we can get it to you. But I'm excited to get more into that just because we've got him up over my shoulder there, and obviously has done pretty well for himself with this whole investing thing.
Yep, he's done okay. And then also you pointed out that there's a kid's set of videos you can watch that Warren Buffett actually narrates or participates in called Warren Buffett's Secret Millionaires Club on YouTube. Which is free.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you've got a young one, this would be a great way to kind of show them something that's friendly to them and their age group, as well as teaching them something that will be valuable for the remainder of their lives. It's an embarrassment to see that I think he's got 44,000 some odd subscribers, whereas some of these knuckleheads that do trick basketball shots have a billion subscribers. But check these both out. Obviously, a pretty smart guy, someone that any of us would do well to learn some lessons from.
Yep. Got anything else?
I don't
either. Thanks as always for watching. We're grateful to you. Please do click the subscribe button. Please click the bell as well if you want to know when we post, and that way you can get our stuff first.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much. We'll see you soon.